Okay, let's do it.
Let's
All
do
right.
this.
First episode, get to learn about us, right? So, Nichole, tell us everything.
All right. So I'm Nichole Rogers. I'm the broker owner of First Class Real Estate Platinum. We are a real estate company that partners with agents and brokers basically to explode their real estate career. That's our goal.
Awesome. Okay, so what about you outside of work, just so these people know that they can relate to us?
I'm a mom. I have two daughters, 13 and 8. I've been married 14 years. I was in hair for 10 years. Then I got into real estate, kind of the same way that a lot of people get into real estate. Like, everybody's like, oh, I need a flexible job so I can be home more. And then I realized
It's like more.
in doing that, yeah, in doing that, that I actually was going to never be home if I wanted to make money. So very quickly that changed. I also am not a stay-at-home mom. Wasn't built for it at all. So that put me in real estate. I did new construction for the last 6 years. Great business. Obviously, 2020 through 2022 was insane for new construction. But in the middle of 2021, or actually at the beginning of 2021, we decided to open our own brokerage, which is where we came across First Class Platinum.
So what are the goals, big goals moving forward? Like I know this, but you're thinking beyond where you're at right now,
Right.
big time.
So currently we're open in Georgia and South Carolina. We're looking to open, we're in the process of opening North Carolina and Tennessee. Goal for Platinum is to take First Class Real Estate Platinum to all 50 states. So we're a virtual brokerage. We don't have to actually be there. We just have to have a broker that's in the state. A lot of the states I can broker, because in real estate you can do reciprocity. So I can just get my broker's license, learn their licensed law. Ideally, we want to partner with a broker that's already in the state just so that they know everything. But big goal is to get all of these and basically sell them to where we're out. So once our valuation's at a certain point, sell it off and kind of be done. We are part of a franchise, First Class Real Estate, owned by Ryan Finch. Let's just give the man credit. He is amazing. He made all the mistakes to get us to where we're at. But we were able to take our personal franchise to all 50 states. So that's the goal, is to get to all 50 states.
And you and your husband do this together. So what does that look like?
Oddly enough, it's made our marriage better.
Oh,
We're best friends, so we do everything together anyway. And when I was working new construction, I was never home. And I always wanted to spend like all my time with him. Well, he was like, poor guy, stay-at-home dad at that point. So he was like, oh my gosh, like I've got to have a goal. And like, so like when we started the brokerage, like he was like, all right, yeah, I've got my real estate license. Sure, this will be fun. But I mean, we're together all day, every single day. We work together, then we raise our kids together. So it's great. I mean, people always say like I'd kill my husband if I had to work with him. I feel the complete opposite. I think it's brought us like so much closer together than we were prior. I mean, not that we were ever bad. I guess that sounds bad. Not that we were ever bad.
Cut that, but no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Like, what was it? Caitlin always says, edit post.
Edit. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where we are in our marriage. Like, it's made our marriage stronger.
Very cool.
I guess we should also talk about how we met.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. So I met Andrea on the Blox, which is an entrepreneurship show.
The greatest.
Yes, the greatest entrepreneurship show, hosted by Wes Bergman. Best way to describe it would be if Shark Tank, The Challenge, and TED Talks had a baby, this would be the show. And we hit it off like day one, right? Like
yeah, like our one. You were one of the first. You were like the third person I met there.
Yeah, and then we were together for the rest of the week.
And we both went there alone.
Yep.
So even though Nichole is, in business with her husband, she was there alone. I was there alone. We made some other great friends, which we're really excited to introduce you guys to. But yeah, it was, I always say it was like when somebody asks me about it, even though, so we're kind of different in how we've trickled out information about this. I haven't told many people that I was on, like really only the people that were affected by my being gone have been told. And I know you've trickled some stuff out in your story, so a little bit people know. But when people ask about it, I'm like, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like I am not a reality TV star.
Oh, no. But I will say though, like what I envisioned as a reality show, like this definitely like was way better. So like the
Yeah.
cameras weren't like in your face like constantly. Like I feel like probably after day one, like you kind of forget the cameras are there.
It
Like
took me a little bit longer. And I did feel like the cameras always showed up when I was trying to take a bite of food. Like I was like,
do you
oh
feel
my
like
gosh.
yes. And then they're like, "Can you have that conversation again?" And you're
Yeah.
like, "Honestly, no."
No.
Like,
No.
no, but those people over there really wanted to tell their story. So go talk to them while they eat.
Yes. They're like doing charades in front of the camera. So I would go to them.
Yes.
Yes.
There were definitely ones that were there for the cameras.
For the camera. Yeah.
I feel like interviews were the only time that I felt like, oh gosh, I'm like so on TV right now. Like, what is happening? Like, when it's just you and the camera, and then they're like asking you questions, and they're like, answer, and you're like, do you want me to reiterate that question, or
Yeah.
are you just answering it how I would answer in normal life? Because sometimes these people are gonna be like, I don't know what you're answering right now. Like,
Yeah.
but I guess that's editing.
Well, and like, so we'll talk about bits and pieces of the show, not just us. I mean, we're going to bring on some really awesome people that we met throughout this process. But, the show itself is very different than a traditional reality TV show in the sense that it is not drama based. It is very much educational based. So for us, there was the competition piece. So that element of drama was there a smidge. But like the education was just, it was unmatched. It was like going to the most intense conference, professional development, personal development conference you've ever been to, but then competing to display how much you retained from that information, what you learned that day. So it was really intense, but it was good.
Yeah. So I
And
mean,
it
like
made
a little breakdown of the day would be, you get up, you get breakfast. You're supposed to be working for the first few hours. That was impossible with 70 other people walking around and wanting to know what you do for a living.
Yeah.
So after day one, I realized there's no point in even bringing my computer to this place. And then you go into a 2-hour training with Wes, which is like all business related, which was amazing. Like I learned so much from Wes Bergman. I cannot even begin to like explain. Then you got break for lunch. Then you come back in. You're basically given a competition challenge situation that you have 15 minutes to prepare for. You then divide into pods. Everybody kind of goes on their own, and then from there you go one by one in your pod to do the challenge. They grade you on however they do that. We never really saw rubrics. And then, but the best part was after that, you got 15 minutes with these people that are making millions in their business. So like you had people, not only Wes Bergman, who's extremely knowledgeable, but you had all these coaches that have been there, done it, been in your shoes, and you have 15 minutes like to ask them anything and learn as much as you possibly can from them. So I mean, that in itself was amazing. And then from there, you do a thing called the Blox off that night. So the winners have a Blox off, which we won't go into where we placed or anything like that. But you can see it in the future. It will be out, I think, December or January is what they're calling for right now.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know. Oh, you'll know.
Yeah.
I think we should do, like how famous reality TV shows stars watch theirs and then they like do a podcast commentating on it.
Yes.
I feel like we need to do that. Even though we're not famous.
Give some like background on like.
We're not famous, yes. But like if we were like, okay, so this is how this went down, you know. Yeah, for sure.
Like you see it this way, but
Yeah.
this is really went down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was 16 hours of filming a day,
Yeah.
essentially 14 to 16 hours a day. And then we would go woosah.
So what I will say is similar to what you hear people on reality TV shows say all the time is, you know, like think of like The Challenge or any of the, or like Big Brother, where they're like, relationships are so intense because you're spending like every waking moment together. It's a high stress situation. You're really having minimal time to talk to outside people. So you kind of find your person and hang on for dear life. Right. And so like when I talk about Nichole to people here back at home, they're like, you talk about this girl like you've known her forever. Did you know her going into the show? And I'm like, oh girl, no. Like I know her like I've known her my whole life because of that week together. And then it's so funny because aside from a few days here and there, we've talked every day since.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, it's funny because like we talked about it in the beginning about like how like the Bachelorette, like they were like crying and they've known this person for a day,
Yeah.
you know? And we're like, oh my God, now I get it. Like I get it. Because I think I talked to my family a total of 20 minutes in the 7 days that we were there. Like I mean, we didn't have any outside. Like it was genuinely like who you're with was who you're with, and
Right.
and like you said, like we held on for dear life. We're like, nope, you're my person. You can't go anywhere. Like I don't know what's happening. But yeah, it's been the same back here. Like they're like, Andrea, and I'm like, this is girl. Yeah, Andrea. Oh my God, that's my girl. Like I wouldn't have made it through that week without Andrea. Like, and they're like, it was a week, and I'm like, you do it, and you tell me that you come out of with it, like. You'll come out with the people that you stuck with the entire time.
For sure.
And we did. Like there's 3 of us that were together the entire time. I mean, we made friends with all of them, a lot of them, but that was, you know. But yeah, so that was the Blox. That was how we met. And that's where most of our people are going to come from, which are amazing people. Like, and that was another thing. Like, not only was it like working with like the people that have done it and are successful, but like the ones that were in the same spot as us. Like, I thought that was cool because it was literally all of us feeding off of each other. Like,
definitely,
I learned stuff from people that, you know, I would have never known, but we're all like-minded. We were pretty much, a lot of us were in the same situations in regards to like where we were in our business. So like having their knowledge was huge. Like, oh, we did this, that failed. Don't do that. You know, like that was always fun.
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess me, right?
Yeah. Tell us.
I'm Andrea Yochum. I own the Selfie Studio or Selfie Studio A in Columbia, Illinois. We are Southern Illinois' first do-it-yourself photography and videography studio. We have 15 backdrops. One of them is behind me. And so kind of a little bit of how I got here. I was helping small businesses with social media, with their social media and their websites. And I kept hearing over and over and over again that they hated that their, product photos or their staff photos were all the same. They all looked the same. They were in the same spot, the one little corner of their business or store that they liked. Or if it was an home-based business that they didn't love the way their home looked, right? So they wanted to step up their game with the social media appearance. And then also, we're a small town. We're only 11 miles southeast of St. Louis, but we're a real small town. And you know how small towns are. You always hear, there's nothing to do here. So I had seen the concept in some TikTok videos of a selfie studio. And I knew there was a franchise, but I was like, I kind of want to do one, but dogs are a thing, kids are a thing. It's going to happen.
I was like, Adam just walked in. He's going to take him out. So if you want to pause a second, he'll take him out.
Okay.
Let me just let them out.
Okay.
Here, you want to sit down? I know. Y'all are so bad. I know. Hold on. Adam, take them. We're doing sorry.
You are fine.
Okay.
Carry on and go. No, so we wanted to take the concept that the franchise had done, but apply it to like be more integrated into the community. So we have built sets using the Love Local logo that our town uses. We hosted, so homecoming in 2021 was still, they were still worried about the big C word, right? And so they actually had homecoming in the middle of Main Street. We're located on Main Street. So they rented us out for the day, and all of home, like all 400 kids came in here and did all their photos all evening.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we've done a lot with
So
the,
you
what's
said
that?
you got the idea off of TikTok. So what year did y'all start? Like what year did you open it?
We have been in business for 1 year and 2 months. So, we opened in September of 2021.
So right before homecoming.
Right before homecoming. Literally, we opened in September, October was homecoming. And it was a great way to test to see if our sets were built with, if they were going to last, right? Because heels are rough on some sets. But yeah, so we built it for the kids in the community to have something to do, and I built it for small business owners to have a resource, a place to go. And we do everything. We do, we'll help you with your photo shoots. We will let you do it all on your own. It kind of makes it a more affordable process than hiring a high-end photographer. It helps with, senior pictures. If you want some outside by the tree, like everyone does, you can do that. But if you want some inside and a ball pit bathtub with electric blue background, you can do that too. So that's where the idea came from. It has definitely evolved. So now we're also a space rental. So birthday parties are kind of like our bread and butter. We also do offsite sets. So we do weddings and birthday parties. We do anniversary, really anything, proms, homecomings. Now, if you don't want to put that set together, we'll do it for you. So it has evolved. Goals for it. I have a few ideas, concepts. One of which is that I would like to make it so that we go into brick and mortars and build this for you. So think like hairstylists or small town, like boutiques, things like that. Not necessarily small town, cities too, fine. But like you would have a permanent set in your location so that you would be more likely to check in at that location. You'd be more likely to take photos using their products or drinking their wine or eating their food using
that. Tag them in all your stuff.
Yeah. And so, that part of going to the Blox for me was deciding, is that the route to go, or is the route to go to franchise this as well? Because while there is already a Selfie Studio franchise, ours is very different. So it focuses on, like I said, embedding yourself into the community. So ours would not open in major cities and vacant mall space. Ours would open on small town main streets and college towns in their downtown districts.
I would think college would be huge, right?
Yeah. So those are kind of our target audiences, if you will. But the reality is, and I'm sure this will come up in many episodes after this, social media isn't going anywhere, right? So
at this point, like everybody has to have it in 2022 in their business. Otherwise, like, I don't know how their business is succeeding.
Right. So just, evolving, seeing that there's always going to be a need for, good lighting, good backdrops, things to be different, studio space to work out of so that, whenever you have barking dogs and you need to film a TikTok, you have a place to go. So that's how it came about.
So are you looking to like keep it local and branch out that way? Or are you looking to like just go all in everywhere?
So it'll really go all in everywhere, but ideally the idea in my head is that I will convince local businesses to do it, And then I will create basically a virtual map so that when you come and visit our town, you can bar hop, but hit all of the selfie stations at each location. And so, think about like the wings in Nashville and the couple locations in Nashville that you can go and take your photo in front of.
Everybody always has pictures with.
Yeah, but doing it as more of a cohesive approach. So not just, I have a really cool picture opportunity at just my business, but instead you're at my business. Here's a list of 7 other businesses in this town that have awesome sets. Please go visit them all. So really it's like, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So if you have some photo happy people in town that really want to check in everywhere, what that does is it gets them into all of those small businesses instead of just one brick wall outside on a main street.
And it kind of helps them what's the word I'm looking for? Like, people go on vacation and they want or they go anywhere. They want to take pictures of it all, but they want everyone to see it through their pictures.
Exactly. Yeah.
It also helps them map out how am I going to tell the story of my vacation?
Right. So, I went to this restaurant, I went to, this bar, I went to this boutique, and then you're documenting it along the way. Right. So ideally here locally would be where I would do it first, and then having that plan or that brochure and seeing how it executes, and then being able to take that to other towns. Just again, back to the college town idea, if you were to drop this into a college town and have the major players in the college town have a set for you to stop at, you could do all kinds of contests or events around that. So you could have a Valentine's Day, a sweetheart walk. So you and your partner go to all these different locations and take pictures together in each set. And then a winner is chosen and you get, a date for 2 or massages for 2 as your Valentine.
Like a scavenger hunt type thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So,
there was something you said, as being in hair for 10 years, I love the fact that you're talking about going into hair salons, because they always are they're always trying to find somewhere to take a picture, right?
mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, let's go outside and do it because you can see
Yep.
the color. And then they're like, oh, but the lighting's awful.
Yeah.
I love that, because then it not only helps, obviously, the people, drive business in by tagging them and all that, but it also helps the business because now they're able to post pictures,
Right.
look good,
Yeah.
without it being let's hope this looks all right in the light.
Yeah.
I can see your hair, but I love that idea.
Well, it has a little bit of a ripple effect too. So if there's the user generated content piece that we're all trying to get as small business owners, right? So, people are more likely to check in at your business if they have a cool photo opportunity there. They're going to take the photo and then they're going to check in. Whereas if I just came into your business, I'd be less likely to check in. Right. So there's that, but also you as the business owner, if you have a section of your business that is designated as a spot for photos and videos for social media, your excuses are gone for why you're not getting it done. Right. So if you have a ring light and you have a cute backdrop and you're like, oh, but the TikTok today, I just don't know I don't want to clean off my counter. I don't want to clean off my desk. Your excuses are gone. Go wash your hair, put your big girl panties on. We're doing this.
You knock it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what's the one piece of advice you'd give for entrepreneurs?
Oh, girl, I'm going to need some time on this one. I didn't ask you this on purpose because I kind of want to hear what some other people are going to answer first. But because we're going to ask everybody this, which is my favorite. I feel like it's going to be my favorite part of our interviews with people. I feel like I'm too much of a baby entrepreneur to give strong advice. But my piece of advice in the time frame that I have been doing it, and all these, I call them risky behaviors, right? Of putting yourself out there and putting your money out there and putting your family, all this stuff, is that find your people, right? I have been super lucky I immediately joined a bunch of networking groups when I started my social media business. I got really involved with a women's networking group, which was a game changer, and then a couple other more formal networking groups, which really got me a lot of referrals. But aside from the referrals, aside from the business I get from those networking groups, just having other people to talk to that are crazy like you are, right? You talked about how you're like, oh, I think I'm going to do this so that I have more time. Well, the reality is that it's the opposite. You have a lot less time, and you're not working at the discretion of one boss. Like whenever it's your business, you're working at the discretion of all of your customers and clients. And so, there are times that it's lonely. There's times that you get down. There's times that you're like, what am I doing? What have I done? Like why or why? Why am I doing this?
Why did I do this?
Why am I putting myself in this position where I could be and so stressed out? I always think you said being a stay-at-home mom was not for you. Same. And I'm sure we'll dive into those stories at some point. But like, girl, I tried it. And I love my boys. I have two boys. They are 8 and 11, and they're monsters. I mean, they're boys. They're boys. But I love them to death. But being a stay-at-home mom for me, I was very depressed. I didn't feel like I was contributing to society, the world, my household, myself. And even in my most stressed out times in business, I'm more fulfilled by that rush. And so, but you need people to talk to about this, because there are people who have that entrepreneur spirit and there are people who do not. And when you're talking to someone who does not, you really feel like a crazy person, right? Like you feel like you're like a self-masochist and like you're insane and you're going to be poor the rest of your life and all these things. So when you can find people who are motivated like you are, and who are crazy like you are, and I need a better word than crazy, but you know what I'm saying? Like when you can find those people, it's a game changer. You can bounce the most simplistic ideas off of them. Like, should I use this point of sale system or this one? But you can also say like, hey, my spouse doesn't get it. This is my problem today. Or, I don't know. Like, it's just nice to find community with other business owners. And if you are a business owner that feels isolated, like you just don't know that many people around you, or you're doing an at-home business and you don't feel like you're connecting, I highly recommend that you join networking groups, and or like literally just walk into your local boutique owner and ask them if they want to be friends, because everyone is lonely. Like everyone is, and it just feels unapproachable. But like that would be my top advice, is go befriend other business owners and entrepreneurs, other people who are in a similar spot that you are in your startup, because it's a game changer.
I agree.
For mental health.
So I guess on my flip side of that, my advice would be just do it. So I feel like a lot of people kind of like talk themselves out of like running a business or starting a business, or like they have an amazing idea, but they're like, oh, that's just dumb. Like that's never going to work. Or they're like, well, when I have this set in life, or when I have this done in life, like, okay, well, if you're always waiting for something to happen, like you're never going to actually act. So I feel like you just have to do it. Rip the Band-Aid off and just do it. And like the best piece of advice I've ever been given is hold your own pen when writing the story. Like don't let someone else hold the pen in the writing of your story, because if you're going to let someone else dictate what you're doing and why you're doing it, then you're never going to be happy doing what you actually want to do. Like I think that a lot of people, especially women entrepreneurs, I think women, it's more dominant with women. They let everyone else's opinion like determine how they're going to feel about what they're doing, if they should do what they want to do. Like, and I feel like don't listen to everybody else. I'm not saying like go out there and blow your savings if like you really don't have a passion for what you're trying to go into. I'm not saying that, but if it is something that you believe in and you want to do it. Like don't let anything else dictate it. I think that would be like my number one piece of advice. Like you have to believe in yourself. Don't worry about what other people think about you.
So I feel like we're gonna have to like check in like every 6 months or something and just be like, is that still our favorite piece of advice?
Yeah. Like, what would be our piece of advice today?
How about now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pending the day, it could change greatly.
Oh yeah. Like I mean, I definitely think that like the farther I get into this, there's a lot of advice I could give, but like a lot of it's probably unsolicited. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, no, Nicole, I don't really care about that.
No,
That's your
no.
opinion.
No.
Not a good piece of advice. So
That's
I
hilarious.
probably should probably watch some of the stuff I say, but honestly,
Yeah.
like I feel like in doing the blocks, like that was like a big part of it. Like where like everybody was kind of giving unsolicited advice like the whole time, you know, and as much as it's like this is totally unsolicited advice and I don't really want to hear what your opinion is of how I should change my business, in reality you hear it and then you're like, dang it, that does make sense. Like I
Well,
didn't
there's that.
hear what you had to say, but all right, I noted it, you know.
Yeah.
And so like, and I think that kind of ties in with like networking and having that community of people that are in the same boat as you, like it makes you feel better in the sense that like, yes, you're gonna hear stuff you don't want to hear. Like people are gonna say like, why did you do that? You should have done this, and you're like, yeah, you're not in my business, but thank you. But then in reality, you go home and you're like, damn it, like they're right.
Ew.
Like
I like it
like
when you're right.
I
See, I
don't.
do that with my husband. My husband likes to tell me he is like Tim the Toolman Taylor from Home Improvement, but about businesses, right? So like he's always like, you should put this in your business, or you should, and it's always like a multi-$1,000 idea that I'm like, well, that's a great idea, but like, how are we going to execute that? Right. But that unsolicited advice piece at some point, like the other night, I was like, okay, hear me out. I don't need to hear what I need to do differently. I just need to hear, okay.
Yeah, I
That's
just
it.
need support. You know,
Just need support. Good
like
job, babe. Leave it at that. We didn't really
I'm
go
not
into
here
it.
to ask for advice. I'm actually just
Yes.
here to vent.
We
And
didn't go into it, but my husband owns his own business as well.
right,
So
and he helped you build yours, right? Like he helped
he
build the actual sets,
he built the walls.
the wall.
Yes. So he does not do social media. After 8 years of him being in business, and he has a pretty successful business, we're now going to build him a website tomorrow on our drive to Florida. Finally, because after years of telling him like, you need a website, so he is very against, like, not against, he's just not into online business. He's very much a salesman, like a door to door. I'm coming to your face to tell you why you need what I have to sell.
Like old
And
school.
he's brilliant at it, right? But when I said I wanted to open a selfie studio, he's like, you want to do what now? And so I
Sounds like
definitely
he's
had to,
very old school.
yeah, he's very old school. I mean, older, it's kind of older, but there's that. No,
Well, I mean, I'm not saying like he's old. I'm just saying like he's old school in his method. Like
I tell him he's old all the time. He's got 7 years on me. So, but he's like one of those guys that can, with his hands, figure anything out. So when I told him what I wanted to do, I'm like, it's a risky business and I don't want to go in and tear up the walls of the place that I'm renting, because like, what if it doesn't work, right? Like, what if we do this for a year and then I have to spend all this money to fix the rental? So he came up with this really cool concept of how to build the walls. So like literally, if I were to move to a new location tomorrow, I can pull out the floor and then all the walls of all the sets. Like nothing is permanently attached. So I could literally pick up my whole business and put it somewhere else.
that's smart.
So he did help with all of that. He built all of the walls and he was not happy about it.
But now look at you. Like you're doing great.
I know. See? I always tell him that the Selfie Studio is going to someday buy our beach house. He's like, I hope so. But he doesn't believe that.
Gotta have faith. You gotta have faith.
Yeah, right. So Anywho, so that's a little bit about us. We are super excited to dive into our guests. So basically, the format of these in our heads right now, and we're willing to change along the ways, but is that we're going to bring on entrepreneurs and business owners in all different stages. So some just having started, some have been in business for 10 plus years. Some are struggling financially, some are millionaires. And so we're really going to ask them kind of some set of questions, and then we'll obviously ask some more based on what they have to tell us, because Nichole and I are like, wait, so tell me more. Tell me more, about everything. And we just think that, we kind of touched on this, but hearing other people's stories, even if it's a completely different business from your own, sometimes it helps you to feel less alone in what you're doing with your business. Sometimes it motivates you to be like, you know what, they had not a shot in hell of this working and they made it work. So if they're in that way, I can do this.
Like
so
that's an idea that you're like, what?
Yeah,
that is never going to work.
Yeah.
And then you hear it, it's like, oh, I'm a multimillionaire. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. So I'm having
that
like
was a great idea.
Yeah. I'm having like a little like proud moment right now, because my advice was to find people who are like in your boat, right? Doing the hard things and figuring this out. And your advice was to just do it. And ultimately, the idea behind this whole podcast was to get people to tell their stories so that it motivates you to do both things, right? So that you're not feeling alone, and that it motivates you to move forward in whatever your dreams or goals are. So that's kind of cool that that's how this ended. But yeah, so really excited about the people that we have coming up in the next couple episodes. And I'm sure they'll be far more entertaining than we were.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think also like with the ones coming up, like even if like you said, like you can't relate to like what they're doing or like what is happening, I feel like at least for me, like there was aha moments with every one of the people that we talked to that I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like I feel like, so we had a notebook that we had to fill in for, where we were at. And a lot of my notebook was more of like aha moments that came from other people's businesses than even like what came out of the coach's mouth. So like, I think that like the whole gist of this is like,
it's that unsolicited advice that you didn't want to take and you wrote it down.
But it's not directly unsolicited, you know what
I know.
Like, it's like, I'm telling you this, but I don't really know you. Like, it's not like I'm like saying it to your face. So makes it a little better, right?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Not as hard to swallow.
Exactly. Yeah. So buckle up, because it's going to be good.
It's going to be great.
All right. Till next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.